This is Joe narrating a PowerPoint from the Science. It's found on page 508 in the Kaplan book. It's Lesson 1, Cell Structures and Functions. Key ideas are that the basic unit of all life is the cell. Cells have different structures, which provides them with different functions. A distinction is made between animal and plant cells, and between cells that have a nucleus and those that don't. If you look at the organization of living things, we start with the smallest particles of matter, which are atoms. These are the things like carbon and hydrogen found on the periodic table. These atoms can join together to form molecules like water or compounds like table salt. These are not alive. These molecules and compounds can form functional structures, which are parts of cells. These are called organelles, and then these organelles can link together to form a cell, which is the basic unit of living material. Your body is made of trillions of cells. These cells are broken up into different tissues, like liver tissue, and these tissues can join together to form a functional organ in your body, like your liver. Your liver and other organs, like the pancreas, the intestines, can link up and form an organ system, which serves a specific purpose in your body, and these organs are all parts of a living being called an organism. Biologists love to classify. One of the basic classifications of living things are those living things that are made up of one cell, or unicellular organisms, and multicellular organisms, those organisms consisting of more than one cell. On the left you see one-celled organisms like the amoeba, the bacteria, and a paramecium, and on the right you see multicellular organisms like plants and animals. The cell has a certain structure. The structure determines its function. This is an animal cell. There are many structures within the animal cell. Some key structures are the cell membrane on the upper left, the nucleus, the mitochondria, and the cytoplasm. So you should roughly know what these four structures are in the animal cell. In the plant cell, you also have those same structures: a cell membrane, a nucleus, mitochondria, and cytoplasm, but you also have some other structures peculiar to plant cells like chloroplasts, vacuoles, and a cell wall. This cell wall surrounds the whole cell and gives this cell some permanent structure, so that, for example, a tree will stand on its own. This slide compares and contrasts plant cells with animal cells. So how are they the same? They have a nucleus. This has the genetic information for that cell. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like material where movement is conducted within the cell. The cell membrane keeps the structures of the cell separate from the environment, and the mitochondria is where energy molecules are made within the cell. So plant cells are different from animal cells in that they have a cell wall which gives support. They have a large vacuole which is filled with energy storage materials for that cell, like the sugar in corn, and chloroplasts, which are very important structures in which photosynthesis takes place. Photosynthesis is where carbon dioxide and water are joined together using the energy of the sun to make molecules that provide energy to the living organism. Another way to classify cells are either as eukaryotic or prokaryotic. Prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus. eukaryotic cells do have a nucleus. So in this illustration, you see the cell is magnified progressively so that you see the bigger nucleus. Then within the nucleus, you magnify it further to see a chromosome, which is a long molecule of DNA. And then on the right, you see the DNA molecule itself. The structure of this molecule was discovered in 1953. This DNA carries the information for the building and function of the cell. Biologists believe that life started 3.5 billion years ago on Earth as a one-celled organism. These organisms competed against each other, and some changed in structure and function and acquired new appearances and functions. This accounts for the great diversity of life on Earth currently. On the left, you see bacteria, which are prokaryotic cells. In the middle, you see the archaea, which are like bacteria and are prokaryotic cells. And on the right, you see the eukarya, which are eukaryotic cells and provide most of the life that we see around us, like plants and animals. Humans exist in this small group called Animalia. Most biologists don't consider viruses to be living. They are just basically DNA or RNA material wrapped in a protein coat. They are important to physicians and to our health. For example, here's a slide of different types of viruses. Upper left, you have a hepatitis C virus that can attack the liver. On the right, you see the influenza virus at the bottom, which can cause disease and even death. This is a drawing of a very magnified view of a virus. So these viruses have distinct structures. This looks like a lunar lander. This will land on a bacteria, for example, and the virus will lower its body down onto the cell and inject its nuclear material, either RNA or DNA, into the bacteria, where it replicates to the point where the bacteria can explode and release new viruses into its environment. Here's a virus. This is a slide showing what chickenpox looks like. This is generally a childhood disease. There is a vaccination against chickenpox available in the United States. This is a slide showing a baby that was affected by the Zika virus in the mother's uterus. Zika is a virus that is mosquito-borne. It's transferred by mosquitoes. If a pregnant mother is infected with Zika, the Zika virus can cross the placenta. It has a tendency to go to the developing brain of an infant and destroy developing cells so that the baby is born with less of a brain than it would otherwise have. You can see the small head of this baby. Bacteria are prokaryotes. A common bacteria is strep throat. Due to the strep bacteria, you can see the red splotches on the back of this person's throat as they open their mouth and stick out their tongue. This severe hand infection is also caused by a strep bacteria that can attack flesh. The protozoa, or one-celled organism that causes malaria, is much bigger than a bacteria and very much bigger than a virus. Diseases like malaria and Zika make mosquitoes the deadliest animals in the world. A mosquito will bite a person who has malaria, draw up the malaria protozoa into its salivary or spit glands, and then when it bites a second person, that malaria is transmitted. This is a picture of an amoeba, again another protozoa. protozoa like the malaria protozoa. Amoeba like the malaria protozoa is a eukaryote. Certain types of amoeba can cause diarrheal disease. That is it for lesson 1 in life science, cell structures and functions.